So, about 6 months ago, I put out this analysis. I basically said MicroStrategy was this ticking time bomb, all built on top of Bitcoin. And let's just say it wasn't exactly a popular opinion. The general consensus in the comments was, well, that I didn't get it, that I was, and I quote, a dumbass. Fast forward to today, and MicroStrategy stock, it's down over 50%. So I made another video, this time arguing the whole crypto industry was fragile. And guess what? That one didn't go over too well either. And since that video, the crypto market has shed over $1 trillion in value. $1 trillion. So what is really going on here? Now, look, the point of this isn't some big I told you so victory lap. Not at all. The goal here is to really look past the hype, past all the narratives, and just look at the data. Because I think it shows that the whole crypto ecosystem is way more fragile than most people think. And that fragility, it all starts with Bitcoin. You see, Bitcoin's price is fueled by these incredibly powerful stories, these narratives. And you've heard them, right? It's digital gold. It's the future of money. It's the ultimate hedge against inflation. But here's the thing. When you tune out the stories and you actually start digging into the data, a completely different picture starts to emerge. So to really get to the bottom of this, we've got to go back, like all the way back to the beginning. We have to ask a super simple question. What was Bitcoin supposed to be? And if you look at Satoshi Nakamoto's original 2008 white paper, the idea was actually crystal clear. It was meant to be, and I'm quoting here, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Simple as that. The big idea was for Bitcoin to be digital money, a way for you and me to send payments directly to each other, cutting out the banks completely. I mean, what a revolutionary idea, right? If only it had actually worked. But it didn't. Not even close.
Okay, so how do we know? How can we actually test if it works as money? Well, economists have these 3 fundamental tests for what qualifies as money. So let's do it. Let's put Bitcoin to the test and see how it stacks up.
Okay, so here they are, the 3 big functions of money. It has to be a medium of exchange, it needs to be a store of value, and it has to work as a unit of account. So the million-dollar question, or I guess the multi-trillion-dollar question is, does Bitcoin pass any of these tests? All right, test number 1. Is it a medium of exchange? So for something to work as a medium of exchange, it's pretty simple. Lots of people have to accept it for payments, and it's got to be efficient. And on this count, well, Bitcoin is slow, it's expensive, and it is just incredibly inefficient. Just look at these numbers. The Bitcoin network handles about 500,000 transactions a day. And, that might sound like a lot. But then you look at Visa. Visa does about 65,000 transactions every single second. Let me put that in perspective for you. The entire Visa network could process Bitcoin's whole day's worth of transactions in less than 8 seconds. It's just not even in the same league. Oh, and it gets so much worse. We have to talk about the environmental cost. A single, 1 Bitcoin transaction has the same carbon footprint as 1.5 million Visa transactions. Think about that. 1.5 million. This right here, this is why Bitcoin has never, ever taken off as a real payment system. Because, frankly, it's just terrible at it. Okay, so fine, it's not great for payments. But what about a store of value, right? This is the big one, the whole digital gold argument. The idea is simple. There's a fixed supply, so it should hold its value, protect your purchasing power over time. It sounds good, but there are 2 huge problems with this story. Problem number 1, volatility. A store of value, by definition, has to be pretty stable. Bitcoin, it's one of the most volatile assets on the entire planet. I mean, an asset that can jump up or crash down 20% in a single month, that's not a store of value, my friends. That is a straight-up gamble. And then there's the second problem, and it's a big one, ownership. Yeah, this chart really says it all. For all the talk about decentralization, the reality is that about 2% of Bitcoin addresses, just 2%, control 95% of the entire supply. Now think about what that means. When ownership is that concentrated, the price can be pushed around and manipulated by a tiny group of whales. That is not a stable foundation for digital gold. Okay, so on to our third and final test. Is Bitcoin a unit of account? Now, this just means it has to be the standard yardstick we use to price things, so we can compare the value of a coffee to a car. And yeah, this test fails almost immediately. Just think about it for a second.
Even the few businesses that say they accept Bitcoin, do they really? They don't price their stuff in Bitcoin. A coffee isn't 0.000 whatever Bitcoin. No, it's priced in dollars, and then at the very last second at checkout, they do a quick conversion to Bitcoin. The dollar is still the real measuring stick here. Bitcoin is just passing through. Now, I can already hear the response from the Bitcoin faithful, right? Oh, it's too early. We just haven't given it a fair shot yet. But here's the thing. We actually did. We don't have to guess or speculate about what would happen because we ran a massive real-world experiment. I'm talking, of course, about El Salvador. Back in 2021, a whole country adopted Bitcoin as legal tender. They rolled out a national Chivo wallet, they forced businesses to accept it, and they literally gave every citizen $30 worth of free Bitcoin just to get started. I mean, this was it. This was Bitcoin's moment to prove everyone wrong. And the result? It was a complete and utter failure. You know, sending money across borders, remittances, that was supposed to be Bitcoin's killer app. Its magical use case, right? No Manx, no high fees, totally frictionless. It was perfect on paper. But when the people of El Salvador actually had the choice, what did they do? Almost nobody used it. 98%. 98 stuck with the old school financial system. And that free $30, that little incentive to get people on board, well, the data's pretty clear on that too. About 60% of the people who signed up, they downloaded the wallet, took out their free $30, and then nothing. They never made another transaction. They basically just took the cash and ran. Okay, so let's recap this. This brings us to a really harsh, really important question. If Bitcoin fails as a medium of exchange, if it fails as a store of value, and if it fails as a unit of account, then where on earth does its value actually come from? Well, the answer, I think, lies in a really old idea from the world of finance. It's what economists call the greater fool theory. And the theory is pretty simple. It says that the price of something doesn't have to be based on any real intrinsic value, as long as you're confident that someone else, a greater fool, will come along and buy it from you for an even higher price down the road. And when you start to look at Bitcoin through that lens, everything suddenly starts to make a lot more sense. Think about it. Bitcoin doesn't generate cash flow like a stock does. It doesn't produce anything useful like a commodity. Its price is entirely dependent on this cycle. The stories, the narratives, they create new buyers. Those new buyers create demand. That demand pushes the price up. And a higher price attracts even more new buyers. It's a feedback loop. But every single one of those narratives is designed to do just one thing: bring new money, new fools into the system. Because the second that new money stops flowing in, the whole machine just grinds to a halt. So here's the uncomfortable truth. Bitcoin's value isn't supported by technology or utility. It's supported by hope. Hope that someone else will buy it for more later. It is, without a doubt, the largest real-time experiment in the greater fool theory that the world has ever witnessed. And the thing about this theory is, it works until it doesn't. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but eventually, you always run out of greater fools.